to call the October 10th, 2024 regular meeting of the City of Webster Groves Board of Adjustment to order. Tom, would you please call the roll?
John Burse.
Here.
Randy Sprague.
Here.
Deb Sahlberg.
Here.
Tom Walsh, and I'm here.
So we have one petition tonight, and we will do it in the following order. The city staff will present testimony regarding the facts of the request. Then the applicant and his or her representative or his or her representative will have the opportunity to present their request to the board and address questions. Then we will ask for anyone who's in the audience or online who's in favor of the application and anyone who's opposed. Then the board will close the public session and we will open it for board discussion and decision. These proceedings are recorded, so we do ask you to speak clearly and one at a time, and you will need to come to the podium to speak. We only have 4 members tonight, so approval will take all 4 members voting for approval. Please try not to be redundant or repetitive in your comments. Tom, would you please read the powers relative to the variance?
When by reason of exceptional narrowness, shallowness, or shape of a specific piece of property as of September 20, 1956, or by reason of exceptional topographical conditions or other extraordinary or exceptional situation or condition of a specific piece of property, which condition is not generally prevalent in the neighborhood, the strict application of the area regulations of this zoning code would result in a peculiar and exceptional practical difficulties to or exceptional and undue hardship upon the owner of such property. The board is hereby empowered to authorize upon an appeal related to such property a variation from such strict application so as to relieve such difficulties or hardships.
Thank you. Would you please read docket 2423 into the record?
Yes, I shall. Docket 2423, applicant Nathan Rao, I hope that's pronounced right, R-A-U-G-H, Naismith Allen Incorporated, property owners Zachary Frank and Megan West, location 58 Webster Acres Street, zoning district A4, 7,500 square foot residential district, variance request, section 53.073C, side yard setback of the zoning code of the city of Webster Groves. Description: upon requesting a variance of 0.5 feet from the required 5-foot minimum north side yard setback to build a second story on an existing non-conforming 1-story addition, the corner of which is located 4.5 feet from the north side property line.
Thank you. Mr. Bentrager?
Robert Myers is testifying.
Would you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Can you hear me in terms of the microphones?
We can hear you.
I
You've got
can. Can you all?
Okay. I just want to make sure the microphones are picking up my voice. Okay. The essential facts of the case, as you already stated, 58 Webster Acres Street. And I would
Wait a
note,
minute, are we going to introduce the exhibits?
I will.
Okay, all right.
again, my name is Robert Myers. I'm the Planning Development Director for City of Webster Groves. And the essential facts of the case are it's 58 Webster Acres Street, as you already stated. I would note that when the application was originally submitted, it was at that time interpreted to need a variance of 1.5 feet. However, the way I, the zoning administrator, interpret the code, it's actually only 1/2 of a foot or 6 inches. So that's why in previous agendas, you've seen it as 1.5 feet, and now you'll see it as 1/2 foot or 6 inches. So the description is requesting a variance of 1.5 feet from the required 5-foot minimum north side yard setback to build a second story on the existing non-conforming one-story addition. I would note that the shape of the lot is what I would call essentially pie-shaped with the narrower towards the back. Also, the building that's existing, it was built in the 1930s, according to tax records. It's not squared off necessarily with the side yard property line, but it's in somewhat of an angle such that only a corner of the back addition is currently within that 5-foot setback. So what we're talking about is they're requesting to build an addition or a second-story addition on that existing one-story addition. The reason is, as you might imagine, that when you build an addition, a second-story addition on a first-story addition, they have to line up to be, structurally to work. I actually asked the applicant, is there a way to offset it, knowing or thinking that there's probably not, but I thought I would ask the question anyway, and the answer is no, not really. And so, again, if you're talking about building a second-story addition on the first story, just the way it works, it's have to be, that corner would have to be existing or within that 5-yard setback. So in the powers, you'll see two things. The application of the regulations would result in a peculiar and exceptional practical difficulty or an exceptional and undue hardship upon the owner of the property. And the way I've always understood it is that needs to be with the land and not necessarily with the circumstances of the property owner or the property purchaser. As I understand it from the applicant's application, they're indicating that it does have an aspect of having to do with the land because there's an existing building already there. Yes, someone could remove that one-story addition and build a two-story addition conceivably, or build a two-story addition on the back conceivably, and lose that one-story addition. But that one-story addition already exists currently. So it is there on the land. So I guess it depends on how you would weigh that out in terms of, does that meet the criteria for peculiar and exceptional?
Isn't that up to the board to decide?
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to state. That's really up to you to decide whether there's peculiar and exceptional practical difficulties or exceptional and undue hardship.
And I would note for the purposes of the city that would ask included in the record PowerPoint as well as the entire packet that has been provided to this board.
Yes, and I can, if you would like, I could go through the PowerPoint exhibits, but essentially the PowerPoint exhibits show that proper notice was made, that in the newspaper, the applicants were notified of the meeting, sign was placed on the property, and other requirements of notice and other anything else we want to get into the record.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Myers?
I don't, but I want to make a statement. Looking at the diagram here, the old addition was already in the setback. So was part of the house. And it looks like the garage is already, as the way where the house was built on the property, it was already in the setback.
Correct. Anyone else? Any other questions? Who's here tonight for docket 2423? Please come forward. Okay, could you raise your right hand? State your name.
Nathan Rao.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
There we go.
Now we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking time for just this one agenda item tonight. Robert gave a pretty fair summary of the circumstance where we have an existing house built in the 30s that's over the current setbacks, intending to build over the rear addition or rear portion that's just the one story. For what it's worth, and we went back and forth with staff quite a bit, is there any kind of favorable way to measure this, but like to the foundation rather than to maybe a protruding piece of the siding or this part of the fence or whatever. And we weren't really getting close enough to be doing it in a straightforward way. And we really wanted to just get the variance before you all to get it considered and make sure if it's approved that it's all set to go with title work in the future and just done the right way. So that's how we came to you today. I was going to note exactly what Mr. Waltz noted too, that the house has other setback conditions that I guess that the setbacks were created after the house was built. And so we're just kind of dealing with the cards that were dealt to us. I don't know if any of this matters. I can't imagine you all would remember. We were before you a year or two ago, I think in 22, with a very similar condition on Gore, on 353 Gore, where the house was built over the setback, and we had the same kind of debate. From the technical side of things, you know, I guess we could build something that would be compliant, but it would just be overly peculiar and odd and hard to flash and keep water out and just not. I can't imagine ARB would approve it, and so we're for you tonight asking for the variance.
Anyone have any questions for this petitioner?
Can I clarify? So we had discussed 1.5 and then 6 inches. What is the request of the applicant?
Our intent for the request is that it be able to build on the footprint of that.
Do you know if that's 1.5 feet or?
We're going off the survey and Robert's interpretation that it's 4.5 feet off the property line. So if we're working with the 5-foot setback, we'll be asking for a 0.5.
I just want to make sure
Yes.
you're not getting a 0.5 setback and getting out the.
No, yes, that all made sense. Yeah.
That distance is based on a survey, an actual survey of that property corner. I mean, the corner of that building to the property line.
Okay.
But the interpretation has to do with the narrowness of the lot, the 5-foot minimum setback in any lot, no matter how narrow it is, correct? Rather than the 6 feet, which you normally see in the A4 zoning district, correct? I mean, because
Yeah.
the previous, you know, the original one we were looking
Yeah.
at was assuming a 6-foot side yard, correct?
Right. In this zoning district, the typical setback is 6 feet, side yard setback, except if the building exists on a certain date, 1956, and it's less than 6 feet, it has some other requirements, you know, but no less than 5 feet from the side yard property line. So that's why I think it could qualify for that second exception to the 6-foot rule.
All right. I'm not questioning your interpretation. I'm just trying to explain, you know, get it on record as to why the interpretation was different than previously.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm just curious, what kind of living space is this? Additional bedroom space?
It will be a primary bathroom and a closet.
Okay.
For the primary bedroom. Yeah.
And just one more bit of clarification. The statement had been that the hardship is based on the shape of the property. Is that your?
Yes. And yes.
Okay. Are there any other hardships that you'd like us to consider?
Well, I would also include I guess 2 things I would include would be the location of the house on the lot. I don't know if that counts in that, but that's obviously the found condition we're dealing with. And then the construction technicalities of building something that has an odd 6-foot wedge setback on it is against all best practices, I guess. My errors and omissions insurance would hate it if I did it.
Any other questions for this speaker?
No.
All right, you can sit down. Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak in favor of docket 2423? Is there anyone online who's raised their hand who'd like to speak?
No one is online raising their
Is there
hand.
anyone in the audience who'd like to speak in opposition of docket 2423? there anyone online who'd like to speak? No one online at all, right?
Correct.
Hearing none and seeing none, we'll close the public session and move to board discussion. Could we have a motion for docket 2423 to start discussion?
I move approval of docket 2423.
I will
Second.
second.
Okay.
Well, I believe that, that Tom, you want to speak on what the hardship is? Because
Well,
outlined it.
To me, the hardship is the shape of the lot. It's triangular, almost goes back to a point in the back.
Mhm.
So it goes back pretty sharply, but with that shape of lot, it's very hard to get additions in. And as I pointed out earlier, it's already into the setback in two other areas on both sides of the house. And this is just the tip of the room, not the whole space. So, and I also, or sometime we point out that they're not attempting to expand, they're just replacing what is there.
Well, and as well, the house is a pre-existing condition prior to 1956 on the shape of that lot.
I mean, you can't move the entire house. I would argue that part of the hardship is where the house was built in the days it was built, so that one can't have any other space. And you're going on top of an existing structure in the same footprint, which I think is very important.
Question, please.
Sure.
Your motion was for approval. Is that with any conditions or just approval as requested?
I
I
moved
didn't really-
approval
we-
of the,
We've never had any conditions.
Okay.
we had a no, I have moved
we've never-
approval of this
We
quote.
modified some of the requests.
Less, yes, we've
Okay.
recommended approval of less, but this is a recommendation of as advertised.
And we're requesting a variance of 0.5 feet.
Point,
That's what we meant.
5 feet.
0.5 feet.
0.5 feet,
0.5 is a different
0.5
number.
feet.
right,
Right.
in order to build the addition 4.5 feet from the property line.
Correct.
Are we ready for the question?
Yes.
All right, all in favor of docket 2423, say aye.
Aye.
Would you please poll the board?
John Burse,
Aye.
Randy Sprague.
Aye.
Deb Solberg.
Aye.
Tom Walsh, aye.
Your request has been approved. Please see city staff during regular business hours for your next steps. Thank you. Is there any other business before the board? Other than welcoming our new alternate member?
And thanking you all for being patient, because it's been difficult to put this together, and I thank you for your patience.
No other business before the board?
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Yep.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yeah, of course, thank you, yes.
That may be the most official clip.
Well, it's a field clip.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, he's obviously.
Yes, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
You may want to introduce
Couldn't get
yourself.
four.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, very nice to meet you. That's the best clipboard I've ever.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
well, now, Robert, normally